Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. We are again on chapter 6 of book 2, The Spirit World. We did last week the theoretical essay on sensations of the spirits. Today we're going to start on choice of trials. Soraya, can you read for us?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Okay. Choice of trials, 258. When they are in an errant state and before they assume a new physical existence, do spirits see what will happen in that new existence? They choose the type of trials that they will experience, and free will exists in this freedom of choice. So, does God not afflict trials and tribulations as punishment? Nothing happens without God's permission because God has established all the laws that govern the universe. You would have to ask why God has made a specific law instead of another. In giving a spirit the freedom of choice, God bestows upon the spirit full responsibility for their actions and their consequences. Nothing blocks their future. Both the right and wrong roads are open to them. If they fail, it is consoling to know that it is not all over and that God allows them to redo the task that they have performed poorly. You must always distinguish between the work of God's will and that of humans. If you are threatened by danger, it is God who has created it, not you. However, you have voluntarily chosen to expose yourself to this danger because you see a means of advancement through such behavior, and God has permitted you to do so.
Right.
Okay.
So first, let's go through the concept of trials and atonements, right? Trials are challenges, are obstacles that we face in our physical existence that serve as a means for us to learn and to evolve. They are not consequence of anything that we did in our past. Atonements are consequence of our actions in the past. So they are, we have to come back and repair what we have done wrong in the past, face the difficulties, face the problems, and that's the atonement. Now, in terms of when spirits are in an errant state, meaning when they are in the spiritual world, and before coming to a new physical existence, can they have a glimpse of what's going to happen? Well, here first we have to separate the spirits that are able to participate in their new physical existence planning and spirits that are not even aware of the reincarnation or necessity of reincarnate, so they are not going to be involved. If you don't believe in reincarnation, go back to the spiritual world, continue not believing in reincarnation, thinking that you are waiting for heaven, hell, or purgatory, or that you are confused and don't understand and do not try to make sense of things, you, by the natural law, reincarnation is a natural law, you will come to a new existence with your existence taken care of by our guardian angel or the team of spirits that make that planning for a new existence. Okay. Now, then Kardec asked, does God not inflict trials and tribulations as punishment? And the answer here is God is the creator. Everything that happens because of the natural laws. The natural laws are perfect. God has established all the laws. So the trials and tribulations, again, trials are never punishment. They are opportunities of growth. Tribulations, if you call atonements, they are a consequence of our past actions, our mistakes. Again, at the time of Kardec, we used freely the word punishment because that was what everybody was used to by what they learned from the church. Nowadays, we can replace the word punishment as a consequence, as a natural consequence of the natural law. Now, we have our free will, and our responsibility is to use the free will to improve ourselves. Sometimes we'll do it correctly, sometimes we'll fail. And as the Spirit says here, if we fail, at least we know that it's not over, and that according to the natural laws, we'll come to a new incarnation, a reincarnation, to try to make amends for what we did wrong. And again, one very important thing here in the end, right? Sometimes we face challenges that are not our responsibility, right? So you think of those that have been these recent victims of the hurricane that caused so much damage in the south of the US, right? Did they have in their reincarnation plan the necessity to go through such a challenge? Some, probably. Few, maybe not. In terms of if someone that lives in a safe area decides to move to a risk area because of their free will, they are making the choice. The consequence of their choice is that they may be exposed to a risk of being victims of natural calamity. Now, the necessity of going through maybe a violent death, yes, that's on the reincarnation plan. The reason, the exact cause of this violent death can be several different things. One of them being an accident caused by a hurricane, a car accident, a plane accident, violent act, so many things. But we have to go through that experience. We'll go through one way or another. Again, if we there is this I don't know if any of you heard of this story. It's a famous one of you know, that death goes to a village, right? And looking for one specific person, and this person hears before that death is coming for him, and then he immediately moves to a different city, and he's walking there in that city, and then he faces death, and death looks surprised, and then he's surprised also, and death turns to him and said, I wasn't expecting to meet you here. I was expecting to meet you somewhere else. So, you know, you cannot escape fate, in the sense of some things are planned in our reincarnation that we have to go through. Again, there is no exact dates. There are regions, and everything can be can change according to our behavior, to our actions. We can, in many cases, we do face the death of the physical body before we were supposed to die, because we abuse the physical life. It's a possibility, and with very few exceptions, we can extend our physical life because of the work that we've been doing, and we have an extra protection from the spiritual benefactors. That's what the spirits tells us that happened with Chico Xavier, that was supposed to live around 70 years and ended up discarnating when he was 90 years. So he gained 20 extra years. There is a rumor that Divaldo also have gained some years. He was told by Joana de Angelis, when he had a serious throat problem, that if he continued to use his voice and his words, he wouldn't have any more issues with his throat. If he stopped using his voice to disseminate spiritism, then the problem would come back. So he's still at 97, continues to give lectures, to talk a couple of times a week, and still going strong mentally. Physically, he's okay, only okay. Okay? All right, next one. Zoraida?
Yes. 259. Okay. If the spirit can choose the kind of trials that it will experience, does this imply that we have anticipated and chosen our trials and tribulations on earth? Not all of them, because you have not chosen and foreseen everything that will happen to you in this life in its details. You have chosen the type of trial that you will endure. The details of this trial are a consequence of the general situation that you choose and are often the result of your own actions. For example, if a spirit chose to be born among criminals, it knew what kind of temptation it was going to have to face, but not each individual action, not each individual action. Those actions are the effect of its volition or free will. A spirit knows that in choosing such a road, it will experience a specific struggle. It knows the nature of the problems that it will encounter, but does not know how they will present themselves. The details of events are the product of circumstances and the force of things. The spirit anticipates only the leading events of a new life, and determining effects on its destiny. If you turn down a road or path full of potholes, you know that you must proceed very carefully because you run a risk of falling. You do not know exactly where you may fall. And if you are prudent, you might not fall at all. If a tile falls on your head while you are walking down the street, you should not think that it was meant to be, as is commonly said.
Okay. So again, a spirit that is able to choose the kind of trials that you experience and the atonements that we have to go through, it is these are general choices. And again, in the book Missionaries of the Light, chapters 11, 12, 13, there is a very detailed explanation where André Luiz spent some time in the Department of Reincarnation in Nosso Lar. And he he learns about 3 or 4 specific cases of reincarnation and the spirits that are participating in their choices. So there is one lady that asks that to not be born with such beautiful features as she was, as it's in her plan, because she thinks that if she's born very beautiful, she's going to risk run the risk of falling into temptations. She prefers to be born on an average beauty, so not to call attention and to be able to focus on what she needs to focus. And there is a spirit that learns that he's going to be born with an ulcer. Eventually, he's going to develop an ulcer because of past problems that he had, consequence of a crime he committed some incarnations ago. So spirits are able to make choices in general terms. And again, if a spirit that needs to overcome the temptation of becoming a criminal because it felt into the temptation of becoming a criminal in past incarnations, of course, the spirit has to be born amongst in a place that he or she will be tempted to become a criminal again, to face the challenge and overcome the challenge. You're not supposed to be born in a place where there is no temptations. Everything works fine and you'll never be tempted to become a criminal. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will become a criminal. It's trying exactly the opposite of that. But again, because we are imperfect spirits, we run the risk of falling back in old habits and making the same mistakes again. So we know that the general terms, meaning we come here with a plan to get married to someone, but we have our free will. We can decide either to marry someone else or not to get married. or other things may happen in our life that prevents us from getting married. Again, we are just postponing what we have to do, and we have eternity ahead of us, so we have many reincarnations. And our temptation, when we are able to plan our reincarnation or participate in our reincarnation plan, is that we try to embrace as much as possible, because we think that because we spend time in the spiritual world learning about ourselves and improving ourselves, we feel that we are very strong and ready to face all the possible challenges that are going to be thrown to us in our physical life. And the spirits normally recommend us to go slowly, to not try to overcome everything at the same time, because there is a good chance that we are going to fail. We are still perfect spirits. We are born and we forget about our past. We may have intuitions, but mostly we forget about our past, and then the tribulations of our daily lives makes us fall back in old habits and commit the same mistakes again. So we should, normally the spirits will advise us to choose some of the challenges, but not to embrace many of them, because the chance of failing and making it worse for us is likely if we try to embrace the world. Okay.
Okay. 260. Why would a spirit choose to be born among individuals who are leading a bad life? The spirit must be sent into the conditions appropriate to the trial it has requested. There must be a correspondence between the imperfection the spirit needs to shed and the social context of where it is born. If the spirit has to struggle against theft, for example, it must live among thieves. If there were no bad people on earth, could spirits not find the conditions they need for certain kinds of trials? If that were the case, would it be a bad thing? This idea concerns higher worlds that are only inhabited by good spirits, in which case iniquity does not exist, and that are only inhabited by good spirits. Try to make this the case as soon as possible on your earth.
Again, what we discussed, right? Why would a spirit choose to be born amongst individuals who are leading a bad life? We have to face the challenges. It doesn't make sense for us to be born in a place that we are protected against our inferior tendencies, because if we don't put ourselves to the test, we'll never know if we have overcome our inferior tendencies. And that's the challenge that we have in a new incarnation. And then the spirits ask if there are no, Kardec asks if there were no bad people on earth, could spirits find the conditions they need for certain kinds of trials? And it's interesting, right? Because we incarnate in the place that is more appropriate to our level of evolution. So if we reach a certain level of evolution that will be at a more evolved place, so we'll still have other trials, because again, trials are opportunities to learn. We may not have to face difficult atonements, maybe some atonements, but just in a more benign way. When we reach a level of good spirits or of more perfected worlds, the challenges will be different, and the suffering will be less, the experience will be smoother. But to reach that, we need to change. We change this planet, and the planet will only change when all spirits that inhabit it change also. So it's not Earth that evolves by itself, it's the spirits that inhabit Earth that will make Earth a better place. We are moving to a world of regeneration, as we learn from the spirits, but still in a world of regeneration, it's just that goodness prevails over evil. It's not that evil ceases to exist. evil ceases to exist only in happy worlds, which is the following stage, right? We're still going to have to face evil, but the place we live now, world of trials and atonements, evil prevails over goodness, and now we move into a world of regeneration. And we can see already some places that propitiate a better quality of living for the people that live there. So you can think of some countries that are already part of this world of regeneration, and this is going to slowly spread throughout the world. It may take 100, 200, 300 years, but eventually the world will change. Okay. Yes, Danny.
This idea of coming, for example, the example you just gave, like someone who needs to learn to stop stealing, right? And it's born, or it's also, I think in the book, it's born among thieves.
Yeah.
To be tested, right? But this kind of situation already presumes that the person learned everything it had to, and like, you know, like you learn the curriculum and then you do the test, right? You're supposed to know that.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know, because wouldn't make sense also to have a person like that in a family or in an environment that could teach the good things instead of being among thieves and not learning, or just it's just test time, you know, you learn the curriculum up there and then you came
Well,
for test.
no, when we read these, we tend to focus on one incarnation, right? And we have to think of multiple incarnations, right? So you've been spending time in the spiritual world, trying to overcome your inferior tendencies. And then you are studying and you think you are not prepared to be born among thieves still, because you think that you are not strong enough. So maybe this incarnation you are going to be born in an average family, in a place that you are less possible that you'll be tempted, and you can work on other imperfections that you have, you know, and leave that challenge of being incarnate among thieves for the following incarnation or 2 incarnations, because you think, oh, I need some more time in the spiritual world, so I'll come back from the next incarnation. I'll spend more time working on that. So we have to think in a more eternal aspect of our incarnations. Now, if you were a thief and you are working to overcome this imperfection, eventually you need to be tempted, right? And where you're going to be tempted? Not in a safe environment. You have to be tempted in a place where, you know, your friends are going to start stealing and will try to drag you to steal also, and you have to resist. But you are only going to be placed there when you or the spirits responsible for you know that you have the condition to overcome. Doesn't mean that you will. Maybe you'll fall into old habits. But if you are there, it's because you can succeed. Because if you cannot, you're not going to be placed there. If the guardian angel thinks that yes, you have learned, you know the difference between stealing and not stealing, the bad consequences of stealing for you, but you're still not strong enough to face the challenge of being born amongst criminals, you won't, because we are born in the place that we have the best conditions to succeed, and our spiritual benefactors take care of it for us. Okay? Yes, Paco.
Yeah. So that state of iniquity, or that depraved state, or that so-called world of thieves, if you, there's a silver lining to it. Okay, there's something positive behind that state of iniquity because it's actually testing me, okay, to see if I'm able to surmount that natural inclination and to go over it and become successful. So there's a silver lining to that depraved state.
Yes, absolutely. And again, we just have to look, if we want to look at the physical world, right? You know, for those that battle addictions, right? It's an everyday challenge, right?
It's
And
an everyday challenge, yes.
yes, how do you know that you have overcome the addiction? If you know that you are not strong enough yet, you're not going to go to places that you may fall into temptation, right?
Yeah.
You know, but if you know that if you feel strong and secure that you are not going to be tempted, you need to go to a place that is going to tempt you to make sure that you have overcome it. If you want to make sure, again, nobody's forcing you to do anything, but it's our own progress, our own challenge to progress, right? You know, I used to smoke like more than 25 years ago. I quit. I can go to places where everybody's smoking and I have no temptation of smoking. I have no interest. So it is a sign that I no longer carry that addiction with me. I have overcome. But people that, there are many people that quit smoking and are tempted every time they go to a place where people are smoking, they're tempted to pick up a cigarette again. So they should either avoid it or protect themselves, right? So it's more or less that in the spiritual world. Our spiritual guides know where we are capable, when we are capable, but again, for us to make sure that we have overcome the imperfection, we need to face the challenge. Otherwise, it becomes only theoretical, and it needs to be practical. We need to know. That's why we come to a new incarnation, so we can overcome our imperfections and challenge ourselves to new gains on the more intellectual side.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if I'm too positive. Oh, you know, but life is, you know, it basically you call it trials and atonements.
Yeah.
I take the liberty to call it challenges and making amends. Okay, to change the thing.
Yes.
So everything, everything. Wherever I find myself, I'm going to find myself within the vortex of a challenge, or within the vortex of making an amend for something.
Yeah. Yes.
So either way, okay, it's a silver lining, though, despite the fact that our perception looks at it very negative.
Yeah.
Am
No,
am I thinking out loud, or you know, I just want your feedback because
I agree.
I want to stay away from the bad good thing. I'm trying to make, you know, I look at life in terms of it makes sense and it's not sensical.
No, I agree with you. Again, it's a question of words and how we place.
Exactly. Words have a lot to do. We have to be careful with words. Exactly.
Yeah, but again, you call atonement, you call amends. That's fine.
Amends, yeah. Because if you're making something that you did in the past, this is a golden opportunity you're going to have to rectify that.
Yeah,
So
but
that's what I define. I mean, amendment is a rectifying of behavior, making a change.
and but the amendment can cause pain and suffering depending on.
And undoubtedly, yeah.
Exactly.
But that's part of the intrinsic pain. But in that case, pain, in that sense, is the silver lining that we may call it as pain, but it's in reality invigorated. It's healthy. When you give up a drug, you're going to go through withdrawal symptoms.
Yes.
I'm bad.
Yes.
Now, am I in suffering? Yes. Am I in pain? Yes.
But
But that's a silver lining.
moving in a positive direction, right?
Exactly, that's my point. That if these things that we call bad and a pain, I'm not denying that it's not painful, but there's a silver lining to it. That's my point. Because when you withdraw from drugs, you go through hell.
Yeah, I agree. Agree.
Okay. Thank you.
261, Soraya.
Yes. In the course of the trials to which it must be subjected to reach perfection, does a spirit have to experience every sort of temptation? Must it go through all the circumstances that may stimulate pride, jealousy, greed, sensuality, and other similar sentiments? Of course not, because there are many spirits who, from the outset, follow a road that spares them the necessity of undergoing many of those trials. However, when they travel down the wrong road, they expose themselves to all the dangers of that road. A spirit, for instance, may ask for wealth and the request may be granted. In that case, it may become greedy or wasteful, selfish or generous, make a noble use of its wealth, or waste it on meaningless sensual pursuits depending on its character. But this does not imply that it is compelled to experience all those tendencies.
Yeah, it's important here, and both on the intellectual and the moral side, we don't need to learn everything and go through all the experiences. And here he's talking about the imperfections, pride, jealousy, greed, sensuality. Let's say that you on your evolutionary path, coming from a spirit that is simple and unaware to where we are today. Greed was not something that you ever had. You slowly, as you learn and went through incarnations, you face situations where you may be tempted, that greed may come into your life, but you don't succumb to it. You never fell prey to this inferior sentiment. So you don't need to go through it because you don't have it. So you overcome the inferior tendencies without having to experience them and facing the consequences of it, right? So let's say on the case that they gave here, someone that asks for wealth and is born in a wealth family and uses it to help others, is generous without any previous experience in that. It's just because as they are facing the situations, they choose the right path. Every time we choose the right path, we are achieving something for us. And on this right path, we may be overcoming temptations that if we chose the wrong path, will become these inferior sentiments, right? But because we never fell prey to those, they were never part of who we were, and we overcome them naturally. Again, it's theory, it's in theory, it's possible. In practical terms, we normally fall prey of all of those. We have to overcome pride, we have to overcome jealousy, we have to overcome sensuality, greed, and all the other similar sentiments. But what they're saying here is we don't need to go. We go to experience that. We can evolve in a straight line. Is it possible? Yes. It is difficult, extremely, but it's possible. Because if it was not possible, God's law wouldn't be perfect, right? Because the perfect law is for us to reach perfection. There is a path to reach perfection that if we follow, we're not going to fall prey of any of these challenges. And again, in the road of overcoming our difficulties, these will be trials. I don't have any. I never committed a mistake in my incarnations because of pride, right? Now, I will come to an incarnation where I'll have a trial where pride, I'll have the challenge of not becoming proud of myself and use pride. And again, we're talking pride in the inferior sense here, because of course there are positive aspects of pride in terms of you know, satisfaction of a work that we have done well. But we're talking about pride here where we think we are above others. So we will face a situation that we will be in a position of forgot the word now. Powerful position, let's say, where we could be tempted to become proud of ourselves. If we don't, that's a sign that we didn't have to go through this temptation. We will overcome it by ourselves without having to go through it. That's what they are trying to explain here. But it's difficult. It's I think most of us fell prey to many of those and are still struggling to overcome them. Okay. All right. Oops.
62. As a spirit is simple, unaware, and has no experience at birth, how can it intelligently choose an existence? And how can it be responsible for such a choice? God supplies what the spirit lacks due to inexperience by tracing out the road that it must follow, as you do for an infant in its cradle. God allows it to become the master of its choice little by little as its free will develops, and it is then that it often loses its way and takes the wrong road if it ignores the guidance of the good spirits, who try their best to guide it. This is what is called the downfall of humanity. When a spirit has free will, does the choice of its corporeal existence always depend solely on its own volition? Does God sometimes force this existence as atonement? God is patient. God never rushes atonement. Nevertheless, God can impose an existence upon a spirit sometimes when, due to its ignorance or stubbornness, the spirit is incapable of distinguishing what would be most useful, and when God sees that such existence may help advance its purification and serve as atonement.
Okay, so let's replace God by the superior spirits that work in the name of God, right? Because the way it works is God creates the natural laws, and the spirits, down from the governor of this planet, Jesus, to all the spirits that are more evolved than us, work in connection to each other and in direct connection with the natural laws, with God's law. So, of course, when we know here, when a child, a 2-year-old child, starts to have their own free will, the majority of their choices are made by the parents, right? Because a 2-year-old has very little condition to choose for themselves what they are going to eat, when they are going to sleep, what they are going to do. So the parents take care of the infant, as they say here. As they start to grow old, they become more and more aware of their choices and start making their own choices little by little until you become adult and you have the ability to make choices for your life. A spirit evolves exactly like that. In the primitive state, in the very beginning of development, they have no condition of choosing their existence. So the spirits that are responsible for this new spirit incarnating are going to make the choices for this spirit. And as the spirit evolves little by little, then it can start choosing their path once they become aware of and understand the process of reincarnation and the necessity of growing and evolving morally and intellectually. Now, on this path of evolution, maybe the spirit that is there in the spiritual world refusing to come to a new incarnation because they are either too afraid or because they are using their time there to to persecute others, to dominate other spirits. And we study the case of Gregorio in the book Liberation, that he was there since he was the former pope that died in the 1400s, I think, or 1500s, and he was still there in the spiritual world almost 500 years later. So does God sometimes force this existence, a new existence? Again, the natural law, reincarnation is part of the natural law. So you can postpone, but you cannot avoid completely. Eventually, you are going to come to a new incarnation, to a reincarnation. You are going to be, in a way, forced. When are the spirits going to force you to come to a new existence? When your time in the spiritual world becomes enough and you have the opportunity with a new incarnation to have some progress, probably very little progress, but some progress. So that's when the spirits are going to send you on a new incarnation. If they know that you are still not prepared because you are still immersed in your wrongdoing and causing harm to others, you're not going to come to a new incarnation, and you may even be sent to a less evolved world if you become too incompatible with the world that you are living in. That's, again, what's happening with some spirits around Earth, spirits that are take pleasure in doing evil and continue to plan on doing evil, are being taken to a less evolved planet as Earth becomes a world of regeneration. So again, do these spirits agree in moving to a less evolved planet? No, they do not. But they, according to the natural law, they no longer vibrate in the same level as Earth vibrates, so they are taken to a less evolved planet. Again, it's their free will and the consequences of their own free will. Okay? Yes.
May I say something?
Sure.
Yeah. Sometimes when you would say they're taken, for me, the universe or this creation is perfect. Okay. So if it's perfect, I envision, I'm envisioning like a flow chart. I chose A, this goes and then goes down. If I chose B, this all go down until the end result. Okay. So in terms of like you said, they force you to do it. No, it's like once you come back again and you chose, let's say, option B, the program is like a program. It's like a program. You chose this already too. You're not able to choose that because the program itself is so perfect that you can't just choose that option any longer because
Yes.
you're close to the possibilities. It's not like it's like I envision a perfect system.
Yes.
And you pay for the choices you're making. If you come here and you can insist on choosing option B instead of A, B, C, or D, whatever, and you come back to B and B, it's going to be rejected. No, you can't go there. Please do another option. So, am I making sense? I'm thinking out loud, actually.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. So let's talk about the practical sense in the terms of the physical world again, right? You have in a street, you have a temple and a bar, right? And those that go to that street can choose between going to the temple and going to the bar.
Exactly. Very good. Very good.
They make their own choices, free will. They go to the temple to pray and to try to evolve spiritually, or they go to the bar to drink and to get drunk and so on. Now, the place, the street itself, becomes more, let's say, bars are no longer welcome in that street because the disturbance it causes, the drunk people that leave late at night. So the residents of the street decides to close the bar, right? The bar moves to another neighborhood. So those that used to go to the bar, they go back to the street. Where is the bar? It went to another neighborhood.
They go to
Go to the other neighborhood? Yes, probably, because that's what they like. So they're not being forced to go into the other neighborhood. They are using their free will to make the choice. It's an analogy, but it's more or less that's the way, right? And it's not that the spirits are expelled from Earth. They no longer can vibrate at the same level that Earth is vibrating, so they are taken to a place where their vibration attunes with the world, a more primitive world. That's more or less the idea. So yes, you're right in your thought.
Yeah, it's like, have you heard the anecdote that I'm walking through 82nd Street and I fell into a hole there. And then that was Monday. And then on Tuesday, I walked through 82nd Street and on the right side of the street, I fall into the same hole again. Okay, but there's an 83rd Street that I could take instead of 82nd.
Yeah,
Until I get tired of falling into that hole on 82nd Street, or just go across the street, the other side of the street.
yeah. The first time is an accident. The second time is your responsibility.
Exactly. Or the second time, you know, I gotta give it a break, but the third time,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, Danny,
263.
just a second. Sorry.
Okay.
Danny.
So there's a lot of talk about this time in Earth, on Earth, that spirits are not going to, the ones who are living now might not come back. So exactly about the example you gave now, the bar in the street. Now, when you say that spirits that are taking pleasure in doing evil, that's very broad, right? The concept.
Yeah.
So I think there are questions about fanaticism in the book, or no, like religious fanaticism or extremes.
In the Gospel according to Spirit is more than here. Yeah.
So people who are led by this kind of beliefs, let's say,
Yes.
they're not necessarily taking pleasure, might some. So it's complicated, isn't it? Because Earth, it's like loaded with this kind of violence.
Yes, and again, we're talking about those that are leading, causing evil, and taking pleasure in causing evil, not the followers. The followers will have another chance because they are followers because they just believe in something and they are following. So if they still have the mindset that can be changed, then they will receive other opportunities here to change, right? To change the direction of their thoughts. So no, it's not, because if you are going to remove all the cause evil and the followers, you are going to remove 2/3 of the population here on Earth, right?
That's true.
I'm not joking. That's when in the book I came back, they say that 1/3 of the world is it's not the one that came back, it's on another book. 1/3 of the world is moving from reason to a more sublimity, and 2/3 of the world is still moving from instinct to reason. So they are still not ready to a place where reason prevails. So you cannot move 2/3 of the world. But on this 2/3, you have the leaders, the ones that take pleasure in causing harm and taking others with them. Let's say, again, bring into the physical world, a gang, right? You have the leaders of the gang, and you have those that are forced to stay in the gang The followers, they are forced to stay in the gang. So you dismantle the gang, you arrest the leaders. The others, you give them a chance to, you don't arrest them. You put them on probation outside the prison, giving them a chance to choose a different path. If they fail or they create their own gangs, then they're going to go to prison themselves. So again, it's an analogy of how the process works, right? So it's not the majority, it's actually a minority of people that are spirits that are being taken to a less evolved world, because those are the ones that, you know, the serial criminals that kill, are sent to prison, and they'll say, if they let me out of here, I'll kill again. They have no interest in changing. These are the ones that are being removed.
And it's not only the killing, but also the leadership,
Yes.
right? To lead a pack sounds or seems so easy. It's not easy to make people follow you. I mean, nowadays online is a little bit easier with silly videos, but to that level that you're talking about, it's a lot. It takes a lot of energy and time and disposition, right? And perseverance. It's not from one day to another.
But let me give you a positive development on what you just said, right? A lot of people are using online features to create followers, to create all sorts of things, and most of the things are not very productive. Now imagine when we change, when we start changing, and most of these people start creating productive opportunities for followers. You see the effect that it can have on society as a whole, right? Because the followers, they just need a little nudge to change direction. So if they start following positive things, it's just a matter of changing the mindset a little bit. So they don't need to be removed yet from the planet. Okay. All right, Zoraida, next one.
Okay, 263. Do spirits immediately make their choices after death? No, many think that their destiny is to suffer forever. You have already been told that this is an atonement.
Again, how can we make choices after death if we don't even know that reincarnation exists? If we don't accept that, to believe that, or we think that we are condemned to heaven, hell, or something like that. So choices, and even of spirits that understand the necessity of reincarnation. Let's think of us here that understand the need for reincarnation, understand the process. We are in a condition that we can learn from in the spiritual world. We can spend time in the spiritual world before coming to a new reincarnation. So let's spend some time in the spirit world, and according to what we do and find in the spiritual world, then our choices are going to be different. If you ask now what your choices should be, it's probably different from after spending 50 years in the spiritual world, studying or working or doing something. You may choose different paths, including because of those that you love will face different challenges, and you may change your necessities to a new incarnation to help and protect your loved ones. So, of course, the choices are not made after death, and most of the time they are made pre-reincarnation in the short time as we are preparing for a new incarnation. Okay. Okay, last one.
Okay, 264. What determines the spirit's choice of the trials that it wants to endure? It chooses those which may help amend its faults, and at the same time help the spirit advance more quickly. With these goals in mind, some may impose a life of poverty and deprivation upon themselves to learn to bear them with courage. Others may wish to test their power to resist the temptations of fortune and power, which are much more dangerous because of the abuse they may entail and the vile passions that they may develop. Others may want to strengthen their good resolutions by struggling against the influence of vices.
Yeah, again, how we are going to make our choices of trials and atonements, right? By what's available to us in terms of opportunity and the our inner disposition to face those challenges. So if I think I need to be born in a life of poverty and deprivation because I need to learn humility, I need to challenge myself to make an effort to survive because I lived too many lives being protected from these difficulties. I may choose to come in a life of difficulties to see if I have learned humility, patience, resignation, or I may come on the other side. You know, I want to be able to have a lot of money because I want to test myself if I can share my fortune, if I can use it to help others. I know it's how we should work. I'm prepared to do that. I did all my study, so I want to have this opportunity. Or overcoming our vices, right? We have these imperfections, and like we said before, and we may choose to come in a place that you know, we are going to test ourselves if we have really overcome our vices, our inferior tendencies. And again, we have eternity ahead of us. We have many incarnations, so we have time. We can do it slowly. We can do it, and it's better to come with less challenges and with more certainty that we are going to overcome these challenges than coming with a lot of challenges and having a high chance of failing. And our spiritual guides will guide us on that, on those choices, like you know, monitoring college that guides the students on the choices they make in which classes they should take and they shouldn't. It's more or less the same thing. Okay. Okay. Let's stop here if anyone has any additional questions. Okay, so next week we start on 265. So what we have this weekend, on Saturday, we have a lecture by the United States Spiritist Federation. It's by Marcio Silva. He's going to talk about love your enemies. On Sunday, which is the first Sunday of the month, we'll be studying the book Between Heaven and Earth, chapters 35 and 36. We're almost at the end of the book, so we're going to start to solve the family issues that we have been reading and studying throughout the book. Book club on Wednesday is going to discuss chapter 4 of book 2 of the book Paul and Stephen. And I think that's it for us. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Certainly. Thank you very much, John, for hosting this evening. And thank you, Sarita, for reading for us, and for everyone who is here in participation. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we are grateful to be together as brothers and sisters for our studies of the Spirit's book. Book 2, Chapter 6, the topic being Choice of Trials. Trials are opportunities to learn wherever we physically incarnate. Hopefully, we will learn to overcome our imperfections through experiences where true success will prevail. Souls that inhabit this world will help to create a world of regeneration where goodness will prevail over inferior tendencies. Progress is the natural law. We choose the type of trial that we will endure and use our free will to overcome our difficulties. We are responsible to balance our intellectual and moral aspects of this incarnation and those to come. Higher spirits work in harmony with the natural laws to assist us and to guide us. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, the mediums, the workers, the healers, and all participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center SGNY and all Spiritus centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we remind ourselves to go forward as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and of charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.